Ladies and gentlemen, we have to start with the explanation, because you got in your folders two reports, right? The yellow one, which is the report of eminent personalities, and it's going to be presented again in the next panel. But in this panel, we have the privilege to present actually the midterm review report. The goal of this report was a little bit less ambitious than the eminent personalities report, because this one, the white one, evaluates the first 6 months of the Czech V4 presidency and proposes some recommendations for the second half of the presidency, but also for the forthcoming presidencies. As we know, Poland is going to take over the V4 presidency in July this year. I'd like to structure this panel in the following way. First, the floor will be given to Michal, who stood behind this project, the midterm review project, but also the midterm review conference, to say a few words about the project, about its development. Then we will focus on 5 particular areas that are mentioned in the white report, the V4 the Visegrad midterm review report, and I will introduce the speakers later. Just to let you know that the report was prepared by the experts gathered together in the think tank platform that is called Think Visegrad. It contains 8 V4 think tanks, 2 per each V4 country, and the authors of this white report do represent equally each of these think tanks, which means that we have 2 Polish, 2 Czech, 2 Hungarian, and 2 Slovak co-authors of the report. Now the floor is yours, Michal. Please present the report, the project.
Okay, thank you very much, and I would like to sincerely apologize for being on the panel again. It's not really something I would like to do, but that's somehow it happened, so I apologize for that. I would like to just very briefly say something about the midterm report. It borrowed an inspiration from something called pre-presidency report of the Trans-European Political Studies Association, the TEPSA, and it's a very good opportunity to put an extra impulse into the presidency. We sometimes we tend to neglect the fact that the V4 presiding country has really a lot of responsibility and has a lot of leverage on what is going on within the V4. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to achieve 2 things. We wanted to give some kind of a frank assessment of what happened in the months leading to the presidency. We wanted to reflect on the program, but also we wanted to. This is the only public thing that the Think Visegrad so far put on the table, because all the previous analyses that we produced are hidden within the confines of the Ministries of Foreign Affairs, and we are not allowed to publish them yet. We'll see. So the second reason why we did this was to make the think tank, the Think Visegrad platform, more visible to the public and to engage in a discussion. I only can say that we ran into some difficulties when drafting this midterm report. One of them was, do we want to be critical, or do we want to rather propose some agenda forward? You can see that we rather focused on what to do instead of focusing on being too critical. Second challenge was to strike a balance between being too general and being too detailed. We wanted to really write something that the Czech presidency might take into its consideration in the months to come. So we couldn't really cover grandiose things, which is something that Tomáš said. And you will have to evaluate if we succeeded. This is the first year we tried this project. I hope it will make sense to you, and I hope that it will be a tradition that we will be able, in the half of each presidency, we will be able to come up with something meaningful. I'm not saying that we came up with something meaningful now. It's up to you to decide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michal, for your very useful introduction, I think. As I said, we are going to present 5 priorities, topical or thematic priorities of the report that are corresponding with the priorities of the Czech V4 presidency, of course, and its program. As the first priority, we identified cohesion and trust as 2 central, actually, issues, and I am happy to give the floor to Jakub Groszkowski from the Center of Eastern Studies from Warsaw, Poland. Please, Jakub.
Thank you, Tomáš. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll make myself very short, as I want to encourage you to actually read the paper that we have produced. So let me just highlight a few points that come from this text. Of course, the unstable international environment in the Central European region and in Europe as such raises the need to make the V4 very active internationally. However, we have to remember, and fortunately the presidency and previous presidencies do remember, the need to focus also on this second pillar of the Visegrad cooperation, which is enhancing regional cooperation and regional cohesion. And please bear in mind that these 2 pillars are do not stand in contrary to each other. Because when we think about, for example, building new roads, we have to remember that V4 is not an island. We don't need roads only from Warsaw to Budapest, for example. We need them also from the Baltic region to the Balkans. And therefore we have to keep this cohesion agenda very closely linked to this international agenda, which is used in the V4 Plus format. Apart from these infrastructural issues, which has to be seen as still very unsatisfactory developed, we also have all these energy agenda, which is being developed much better, and also on the European Union within the Energy Union project. On the other hand, we have all the topic of social cohesion, which is also extremely important, and I'm very happy that ministers that were present at the panel before focus on this issue as well, because even though this cohesion topic is present at the Visegrad level very strongly, we still need very robust political impulse to develop the projects that have been started a long time ago, and we have many platforms which focus on these cohesion issues, but many of these topics seem to disappear or seem to be forgotten. So we need to reassess all these projects every time, and it is the role of presidency to check what has been started and what shall be continued and what should gain this very important political impulse. And also it is good to raise the public awareness which projects are needed and which should be developed. And there is a third very important cohesion topic that we should develop. It is political cohesion. Political parties around the region cooperate, for example, in the European Parliament. However, it would be very good to expand this cooperation to regional level, and the opportunity for that will be in a few months, as the Czech presidency will organize the meeting of heads of the parliament in Prague. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Jakub. The Czech V4 presidency is paying actually significant attention on cooperation in the field of security and defense. And I'd like to invite Marton Michelot, French, who is working for EUROPEUM, Institute for European Policy here in Prague, to present the main findings in the defense section. Please, Marton.
Thank you very much. I'm very proud to say that I'm a honorary V4 citizen, so despite the fact that I'm French, I still try to pay attention to what's going on in the region. And I think we can all agree that this is an extremely important year for defense cooperation. And it's perhaps one where I actually have a comparatively easy job compared to Jakub, because the deliverables are actually in a way measurable concretely. And this also leads us to have very strong expectations about defense, because it happens to be one of the most visible modes of cooperation, but it's also one that triggers, you know, the most instinctive reactions, and that for which we have reflex that are the hardest to get rid of. But that being said, I think that the report highlights the fact that there are achievements and that these actually need to be put forward. The most concrete achievement that we've heard about is the creation of the V4 battle group. And the V4 battle group is something that is already operational, that has been enacted, and now the responsibility for the remaining time of the V4 Czech presidency is to put on the agenda the future of this V4 battle group. Because it has created the conditions for dialogue, the conditions for political and military dialogue that need to be repeated and that actually need to be enhanced. So the idea of a second operational deployment of the battle group is one that will come up, and also the idea of how this battle group can be turned into a permanent structure. So in this important year for NATO with the Warsaw Summit, the V4 battle group resonates particularly because, as a matter of fact, the region plays a very important role in implementing the reassurance measures that have been decided at the Wales Summit in 2014. And we actually have found that the region has become a driving force behind the reinforcement, most especially of multinational Corps Northeast in Szczecin in Poland. So there is a dynamic that needs to be taken advantage of, and such an active role for the region within NATO should actually be confirmed at the NATO Warsaw Summit, which will uncoincidentally or coincidentally happen just a few days after Poland takes over the presidency of the V4. So there is high hope for a joint communique by the prime ministers to be existing before the Warsaw Summit, which would be based on the baselines that were agreed upon by regional powers in Bucharest in November 2015. And I just want to add one thing which is not highlighted in the report, but which is in the back of all of our minds. It's also the continued commitment by the region to uphold the commitments that it has made in Wales on the defense spending issues. And this is an issue that involves, you know, a whole of government approach, not only the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but also the Ministries of Budget and also the offices of government. And finally, I also wanted to highlight the fact that the year has brought forth a lot of promising developments regarding more contained forms of cooperation, but which are also extremely important in their own way. That includes air cross-border cooperation, and that includes the establishment of a central European aviation training center and the creation of the V4 modular force. So I would submit humbly that there is a window of opportunity, and the report submits this, not myself, excuse me. There is a window of opportunity for the remaining time of the Czech presidency to drive progress forward, and a very good reason to expect that 2016 will be a stellar year for V4 cooperation on defense issues, with the regional powers seeing eye to eye on the important challenges, geopolitical and security challenges that the region is facing. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. One of the very concrete achievement of the Czech V4 presidency is the establishment of the Western Balkan Fund, to which the International Visegrad Fund served as an inspiration or as a model. And I'd like to ask our colleague from Hungary, Daniel Bartha, who represents the Center for Euro-Atlantic integration and democracy from Budapest to elaborate a little bit more on the Western Balkans as the territorial priority of the Visegrad group, and also about the Western Balkan Fund as such. Please, Daniel.
Thank you very much. I would try to do my best. I'm not a Balkan expert. Migration crisis brought back actually in the Western Balkans into the focus, both Europe and the Visegrad region. For the last couple of years, we mainly concentrated to the Eastern Partnership countries and our support to the Eastern Partnership. That was, I think, very well represented in the projects supported by the Visegrad Fund as well. So there was a clear shift in our focus from the southern neighborhood of Visegrad to the eastern neighborhood of Visegrad. But the migration crisis brought back our attention, and there is a shared agreement there's an agreement among MFAs and foreign ministers that we should stronger support the Western Balkans, not only in its EU accession process and support its EU accession process, but also support them political and economic stability, which is now in danger related to the crisis. Visegrad helped enormously in the last decade since the idea first emerged in the creation of the Western Balkan Fund. Originally, it was an idea started to develop by Hungarians, then it was forgotten, and the Czech presidency, the previous Czech presidency, once again introduced this idea and supported it very much, while the recent Slovak presidency prepared the ground for the creation of the fund, which was finalized during the present Czech presidency. Many experts, and I think many working in the Visegrad area, think that's a job done, but I think it's a job where we should really now we should start to work with the fund. It was not enough to create it. Now we have to support it, and the Czech presidency's role here would be very important. Not only possibly providing some financial help, but more importantly, providing them support them with operational help in the creation of the operational methodologies and the everyday work of this Western Balkan Fund. So that's thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Another priority has been cooperation with eastern neighbors, among which Ukraine has played a very important role, right? I'd like to pass the floor to Milan, an Executive Director of the Central European Policy Institute from Bratislava, to say us why Ukraine has played so important role in the V4 presidency and why the authors of the report decided to actually dedicate a separate chapter to Ukraine. Thanks.
Thank you, Tomáš. Good morning or afternoon to everybody. Ukraine is a direct neighbor of 3 out of 4 Visegrad countries. If you follow what's going on in Kiev, what has been going on in the last few days, surrounding resignations and vote of no confidence into Yatsenyuk government, it promises to be a very turbulent year in domestic politics in Ukraine, definitely. And these tensions within the ruling coalition and economic trouble ahead evolves as the EU attention is being more and more divided, or as other big issues like Syria, migration, refugee crisis, renewal of Russian sanctions will come or are already dominant or will come to the table. The renewal of Russian sanctions will need to be decided by the end of the Dutch presidency in June. It will depend, of course, on the fulfillment of Minsk II agreement, but there are already repercussions among important member states on this area. And in Munich, recent Munich Security Conference also had some interesting exchanges on this. So, to be brief, there are 4 points that foreign ministers of the Visegrad group. Number one, work for intensifying the economic cooperation with Ukraine. Number two, keep the visa-free or dialogue on visas alive and moving ahead. There is a promise to have a decision on this by the end of the year, which will be very difficult in the context of migration crisis. It's very important for Ukraine, not only for citizens, but for political elite to show a tangible result of the whole European perspective. Number three, energy. I mean, Nord Stream 2 was already mentioned here. There are important interconnections in place, like the reverse flow of gas through Slovakia to Ukraine, which is a lifeline. It was already proved last year that it has almost balanced the capacity there is to even provide more gas if there is more curbs from Russian side. Let me put it this way. But the emphasis put of the authors of the report in energy area is on something else, and that is efficiency. I mean, this region is not a big fan of climate change related agenda, but it is a big champion of energy efficiency. I think in all our countries proved that they have managed to decrease consumption in energy sector. And the challenge for Ukraine is enormous. Ukraine is the waste in how they consume energy is measured in many ways. It's largest. It's in number one place in the world, I think. A last priority we put forward in Ukraine is very obvious: give more scholarships to Ukraine students in Visegrad countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Milan. And last but not least, we have the pleasure to have at the table Marton Ugrosdy from the Institute for Foreign Affairs and Trade from Hungary, who is another partner in the Think Visegrad platform. And Marton is going to focus on the issue that has been already highlighted by our foreign ministers in the previous panel, and it's the issue of the reputation of the V4, also the need for better communication with European institutions and other member states, also in relation with the current migration crisis. So Marton, please.
Thank you, Tomáš, and also thank you for giving me the simplest topics of all. I'd like to cover them to the best I can. What I would like to convey as a general message is what Mr. Ruček said in the previous panel, that the EU is not unfinished business. And the thing that we have our own opinions, we have our own perspectives, and right now we're speaking united is of course upsetting the major players of the European Union, because they also realized we're forced to be reckoned with. This is a great window of opportunity for us, in my opinion, and this is something we tried to examine in this report that was published. And of course, this is a very tough topic in a way that it gets very serious media attention. It gets hijacked by different political agendas, but still, in the last year or so, an enormous level of coordination has emerged within the V4 countries. Of course, migration was the main catalyst in this, we cannot deny that, but at the end, it seems like that at least the Central European countries have a common vision, and members of the V4 have a common vision in which direction the EU should move forward. And considering that there's the note saying that you should never waste a good crisis, this might be a good opportunity to act together and to think about what the future of the European Union will be and how this newer kind of European Union can serve our interests as well. Of course, our deteriorating image is not an easy question, and what might be important for the remaining months of the Czech presidency is to highlight the achievements and highlight the constructive approach we've already produced. We've contributed to the EU Crisis Fund for Africa and Syria, so we're also trying to share the burden. Of course, our financial opportunities are not so huge, but we're trying to do what we can. We also, for the group, the Friends of Schengen, which is committed to keep up this very important achievement of the European Union. We also support Frontex in the protection of the EU external borders, which is emerging the European mainstream and getting accepted day by day, also by other European leaders. And what is really important, and what Daniel mentioned, is that we support the countries on the Western Balkans, which are the most exposed to the migratory pressures we're facing today. This not only means political support, we've committed men, we've committed equipment, and we're also trying to provide money in order to help the countries on the Western Balkans to deal with this very sensitive situation. Also, there's another thing we have to talk about when it comes to Central European countries within the European Union, and that is the proposed British EU reform. And this is very sensitive for us because one of the core values of the European Union, the free movement of people and avoiding of any kind of discrimination, is very important for these countries. So it's kind of interesting, in my opinion, that on the one hand we get criticized for not abiding by the EU values, while on the other hand we're trying to protect one of the major achievements of the European Union, which is the free movement of people. So if it comes about saying that the V4 members are rejecting anything, this might be not so true as it sounds for the first time. Also, in the case of the British EU reforms, there are some things we also agree on. This could be a basis for negotiations, and also maybe a way for some concessions to make for a meaningful reform, because this might be a good opportunity to reform the not so well functioning parts of the European Union. So to sum it up, I would say that not only the Czech presidency, but every single presidency that will follow in the coming years should really convey a positive message of the V4, because we're not only always against something, we're for a lot of things. And the 25th anniversary might be a good chance to highlight what we already achieved. And in our modest ways, we've tried to contribute to this endeavor with our report and all the reports that we produced for the Ministries for Foreign Affairs in the last years. And what was really striking for me that last night when we met the external Visegrad fellows who were coming from non-V4 countries, and they said that there are some countries who are still jealous of our cooperation. So at the end, it could not be so bad if there are some countries who want to join us. We're always talking about V4 expansion, V4 plus formats. So if this was a non-functioning and useless cooperation, nobody would want to join us. So maybe we should also appreciate the cooperation we had for the last 25 years and the one we might have in the upcoming 25 years. Maybe I'll conclude there. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard a 100% pure think tank perspective on the most important issues of the Czech V4 presidency, and I think that we can start debating these issues among ourselves, but I think it's also possibility for you to ask questions, the panelists. Of course, you can find more findings in the report, in the white one, but still, this is a unique opportunity to have 5 of V4 researchers here, so please, if there is any question, just indicate your name and to whom you want to address the question. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Ambassador of Latvia. Thank you for this presentation. It was very nice, but it looked like a bit like from foreign ministry, very moderate, very solid, and so on. My question is to maybe to all of you, if you speak about V4 and look back and look also forward, could you look or mention some biggest challenges within V4 cooperation and V4 in the future as a problematic or challenging topics? Thank you.
Thank you. Would like to take this? Michal.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to explain, we wanted to reflect the presidency job in the Visegrad group. So we were not assessing the overall state of the Visegrad group. We wanted to really focus on what the presidency can achieve, what it has achieved and what it can achieve. We already got the reflection that we could have been more critical. In a way, I'm not really too critical about the Czech V4 presidency because I think it's doing quite a good job. We indicated that more can be done in the defense sector. Because for several reasons, no deliveries, nothing was really delivered up until now. So this is the explanation of the language used in the report. As of the challenges, in my opinion, I think there are 2 challenges: how to prevent the Visegrad group of becoming an isolated island, as you mentioned, geopolitically and politically within the European Union, how to find the right dialogue between Central Europe and the rest of the EU. I do not see that we are going in the right direction right now, be it because of the way the V4 communicates to the outside, and be it because of the way the West, so to say, communicates to the V4. I find both of the ways very unsatisfactory. And the second challenge is how to find the balance between geopolitical approach to European politics and between the normative approach to European politics. I think that we are now living in a world where geopolitics are coming to Europe very strongly, but I think that we should not give up on the normative understanding of foreign policy. So to find these two balances, these two things, I think are the most important challenges for the future. But these are challenges for the Visegrad group. It's not the challenge only for the V4 presidency in the months to come.
Thank you. As I see on the screen, we are out of time already. Therefore, I would propose to continue our conversation in a more informal manner during the coffee break. So let me just thank to our panelists, Marton Ugrosdy from the Institute of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Milan from Central European Policy Institute, Bratislava, Daniel Bartha, Center for Euro-Atlantic Integration and Democracy, Martin Michelot from EUROPEUM, Institute for European Policy from here. This was a French bonus, as we have heard. Jakub Groszkowski from the Center of Eastern Studies from Warsaw, and finally our host Michal Kořan from the Institute of International Relations here in Prague, and I am Tomáš Strážay from Slovak Foreign Policy Association. Thank you for your attention, and please enjoy the coffee break.